All right, Sag. So this week from Lay Vampire, you pulled Faith, Trust, Unwavering, and Confidence. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled Discovery. Now, Faith, the blessing says, your faith returns and you feel a true connection and comfort in your choices and plans. They are supported by the energy of the universe. And then working with this card says, if you have lost faith in a person, project, or humanity itself, it is time to examine the source of the faith. Know that it can be revived, and this time you may choose where you place this most beautiful and tender of faiths. Now, when you're looking at that with discovery, for a lot of you, it's having faith in, what you're discovering, not only about yourself, but as far as what it is that you're planning on doing. Now, the card at a glance says, in the past, you may have been fully prepared to face facts. Be willing to take the journey regardless of the outcome. Get ready to carry a commitment through to completion. So basically, needing to go through with something and not needing to pay attention to what an outcome is going to be. Unfortunately, a lot of times we want to know what is going to happen, what's going to happen. But basically, it's saying that now is the time for you to go ahead and have faith in what it is that you're doing and not worry about what's going to happen later. Now, the inspiration says, are you trying to recapture a past that no longer fits? If you are presently upset or struggling with a difficult situation, you may be seeking to keep something that is far less than what you deserve. And then the personal question says, am I happy in this situation? How is it benefiting me? The healing of predetermined agreements must be addressed. Awareness is healing. And then the key ideas are leaving the past behind, a readiness for a new adventure, a willingness to venture into uncharted territory, and a new level of self-care. But basically, between the two, it's for Sag needing to have faith. Needing to have faith in what it is that you're doing, but not needing an outcome, and then stop keeping things from the past that no longer serve you. But it's not bad. The both of them look really good. All right, Sag, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. Now, as far as your own energy, I love it. The Queen of Staves or the Queen of Wands. Basically, this is talking about you being confident in yourself and, again, having faith, right? Having faith in what you're doing. But she's also, able to manage everything that's going on. Now, for some of you, you may be dealing with another fire sign. And again, general reading, it could be male or female, but you're talking about somebody who, generally with the wands, they're very attractive. And again, for the female Sagittarius, it's feeling really good about who you are. But again, being able to manage things though too. And, as far as dealing with another person, I do like the Queen of Wands and the fact that, she does pay attention to the details rather than the king. But we shall see how this is playing out. Now, in the past, the Six of Swords. Every time I see that card, I feel that little bit of sadness with it, of having to move away from conflict. And, for some of you, it's going to have to deal with a person now. On the other hand, it's just you moving away from bullshit from the past, plain and simple. For some of you, it's literally moving, like physically. But it's saying that, in the past, there was issues that had to be, just moved away from, not really dealt with. And again, with the Queen of Wands being there, it's either, having to do with a person or you're in better control of what is happening now. You and Scorp, so the Ace of Wands in the present. And that's good to see, especially out of the Six of Swords. Basically, it's saying that, whatever conflict that you've dealt with, now you're moving into a better spot for yourself and a new beginning, a new passionate one. And with the Queen of Wands front and center, that's perfect. It's perfect. I don't know. I feel both. Honestly, I feel both. But in terms of, your own energy between the two, it looks great. So, even though you had to move away from things that were difficult in the past, when you're looking at the Ace of Wands, I mean, beyond having a lot of passion, a lot of fire and drive, you're looking at something that is good in terms of you actually having a passion for it, new passion in your life. Oh boy. Future conditions. So now when you're looking at the Knight of Wands, again, it goes back to discovery and not needing to have like an outcome. When you're looking at the Knight of Wands, there is no look at the long term. That's the difference between him and like the Knight of Pentacles. This is about moving forward with passion, but not, worrying about what is going to happen in the long run, just needing to go now, you know. And again, for some of you, I mean, a lot of fire, a lot of passion going on. You're either moving forward quickly or there's somebody that's coming in like a fucking whirlwind, right? And with the Ace of Wands, yes, yes. But again, I mean, either way, it looks good, I always worry about the Six of Swords, and when you're looking at that, you can't move, too quickly through that. That to me is slower movement versus like the Chariot, because there are issues that have to be worked out during the movement away from them. Traditionally, you still see the swords in front of the people in the boat because they're still carrying it with them. The whole point is to deal with that as you're moving into, that calmer situation or to those new shores, so to speak. But looking at the Knight of Wands coming out of this, it's like, gone. I'm going. I'm not going to worry about, needing closure or resolution on anything. I want this new beginning and I'm going for it now. And I think that with the Queen of Wands being there, it helps you to feel better about what you're doing, because again, you have faith. That trust is being returned to you in what it is you're actually planning on doing. But I mean, either way, it's not bad. I mean, it looks good. Yeah, there's something that has to complete itself out. So the world is your best path to follow. Beyond feeling successful and accomplished, the world is saying that you can complete out the things that no longer serve you. Because again, I'm looking at the Six of Swords coming through. And these things need to be completed. You have to go through that major completion in life before you can get to that new beginning. It's there. It's just, you have to successfully complete out the things that need to be finished. Now that's kind of contrasting to the Knight of Wands, yeah, but at the same time, I still feel like it's a better energy for you, especially in terms of needing to feel better about who you are and what you're doing. But again, with the world, it's just reminding you that these things that need to be completed out, it can be done successfully. Where you don't feel like you're abandoning things, Oh, wow. So now, right, in your environment, the Ace of Swords, and, having truth and clarity, and that's absolutely what you need when you're dealing with, the Six of Swords. So again, truth, having the truth, knowing the truth, speaking the truth, absolute mental clarity, which is fantastic. Clearly knowing what you need to do for you. But then at the same time, you still have this passion and drive. In terms of like new relationships, it's good coming in with, the truth, right? But having passion at the same time. The other thing though, too, is if you're looking at work situations, this looks a lot better than what you've dealt with before. But either way, I mean, with the aces being there, that's fantastic. It's no wonder why you're sitting front and center, feeling good and looking good. Your hopes and your fears, the Ten of Pentacles. Now, again, going back to that feeling of work, but then on the other hand, for some of you, it's going to have to do with family situations. But when you're looking at the Ten of Pentacles, as far as like a hope goes, it's a beautiful card. This is what you're hoping for. Right? Needing to have that stable foundation, security. Financially it looks okay. It's just, again, it's not in the environment or in the present or future conditions. You're looking at hopes and fears here. And again, the completion of a cycle, and needing to get back to a new one here, but then at the same time still needing to maintain that stability. And if you're looking at family issues, I do feel like you have control over what is happening for sure. But I feel like, again, looking at the Six of Swords, and then the world being there, and going back to these two. These are great. Aces are great. They're there. It's just a matter of what you do with them. Now, again, with the Ten of Pentacles, I think the fear is the actual move, especially if, for some of you, if you're selling your home though too. I don't know, I feel iffy about it, but but then at the same time, it's good. Like, it's not bad. Now, again, looking at the world, needing to have things completely, finish out in a successful way. And then again, the Ten of Pentacles, the end of the cycle, the beginning of a new one, and you have them there. And again, for some of you, it's needing to pay attention to the details, looking at the Queen of Wands, especially if you're dealing with like selling a home or actually moving. On the other hand, if you're looking at relationships within the family, it's looking at needing more stability. If you're looking at new relationships here, it's wanting to maintain, the stability and not having the foundation shook up, so to speak, more than what it already has been in the past with the Six of Swords. But basically, just needing to have stability. Oh, and then the outcome, the High Priestess. Damn. Okay, so... it's funny because the Queen of Wands is very spiritual person. I've heard her referred to as the tarot reader. And then you have the High Priestess. Now, the High Priestess coming out, what I'm looking at is you going toward what you're wanting, right? Regardless of what you don't know when you're looking at the High Priestess. And again, it's a passive energy. And that's where the contrasting part is between, the Knight of Wands and the High Priestess. So you have one energy that's like, now, we're going now. And then the other one is like, no, you need to, observe things first, pay attention to what is going on. And that is how that, hidden knowledge becomes available to you. That is where, the intuition starts to open up here. Now, and that may be where a little bit of the conflict is. If you're dealing with somebody that's not really ready to move just yet, I think with the Five of Wands or the Five of Staves here, it's going to create some, difficulty. But, again, it's like needing to move quickly here, but then still like hanging around and waiting, right, for information to become available. And again, information, when you're looking at the Eight of Wands, communication that causes minor conflict. But it's like regardless of whatever it is, you're still moving forward. You're not worried about needing to have, resolution or an outcome here when you're looking at the Knight of Wands. So, regardless of the waiting period, I'm moving forward here. Whatever communication that comes through that causes this conflict, I think you're going to go anyway. Because again, you have clarity. And this is there. It's like, it's basically you're not wanting to have it pass you by. You want to make the most of it. But then at the same time, you don't want the foundation to be rocked any more than what it has been. But again, this is the ending of a major life cycle here, looking at the world that you need to complete out before you move forward. But it's all going to be based on communication that's coming through. The conflict may be that it's stopping you from, moving forward here. And whatever this is, as far as like actually changing residency, dealing with, relationships that are coming through here, work opportunities, whatever it is, the communication that comes through is, it's not bad though, looking at the Five of Wands. It's major. It's not major, it's minor. This isn't anything that you can't overcome. And I don't feel like, you're getting involved in a situation where it's going to make things worse. It's just needing to move forward regardless of whatever information does come out. All right, Sag, we're going to take a look at the soul truths to see what other messages we can get for you guys. But, again, with the Queen of Wands being there, I feel like, you're confident. You're confident in what you're doing. And again, you have faith restored to you and what your plans are. Whether this is somebody that's moving in with you or you're moving, because I feel like that with the Ten of Pentacles and the Six of Swords. But whatever the situation is, seeing the Ace of Swords out of the Six is good. That is what you need. You need that clarity. And that clarity is, telling you to go ahead and move forward the way that you need to. But then at the same time, there are things that have to be completed out. The beginning, yes, we know. New growth, the Ace of Wands, and balance, needing to have balance. Balance between the new passionate beginning and the truth, possibly. For some of you, it's not bad though. But the beginning, it is the beginning. It is the beginning of a new cycle in your life where there is going to be new growth, which is great. But you need balance. You need to have balance between the conflict that you've dealt with and what you're looking at now. But I still think that regardless of whatever, information comes out here that you've been waiting on, no matter what kind of conflict it creates, you're still moving forward, which is great, and maybe that's what you need to do, complete things out the way that they need to be, right? Do what you have to do to maintain that stability with the Ten of Pentacles, but, move forward with truth and clarity to that new passionate beginning. It's not bad. All right, guys, we're going to take a look at the romance angels to see what messages we can get for you guys in terms of relationships. And trust, the situation is calling for you to have faith. Yes, we know. Yes, we know. So, not bad, Sag. I mean, it could have been worse. Looking at the Five of Wands, sometimes we don't always hear the things that we want to hear, but whatever conflict it creates, it's not anything that's going to hold you back. But again, you have to remember that whatever it is that needs to be completed out in your life, it can be done successfully without abandonment, is basically what I want to say. But as far as relationships go, definitely stay optimistic, especially for those of you who are single. But trust, right? Faith, having faith in people, having faith in the choices that you're making now. It's not bad. It looks great.